At a lavish party, three wealthy women all have their eyes on the same man, Lee Young-joon. Confident and aware of their interest, he strides toward them, making their hearts race. Each of them hopes to be the one he chooses. But to their surprise, he doesn't even spare them a glance. Instead, he stops in front of a mirror and admires his own reflection. At that moment, Secretary Kim approaches and asks what's happening. Without missing a beat, Young-joon ignores her question and instead asks, "How do I look?" Without hesitation, Secretary Kim responds, "Perfect." Pleased with her answer, he smiles smugly. As the youngest and most successful president, Young-joon is handsome, rich, and incredibly talented. However, he has a peculiar quirk: he doesn't let any woman touch him. Even his own family wonders about his orientation. The only exception to this rule is Secretary Kim, who has worked by his side for 9 years. She's more than just his secretary. She manages his entire image, working tirelessly to keep everything about him flawless. Meanwhile, Young-joon firmly believes he is the epitome of perfection. Someone so remarkable that he practically radiates brilliance. But on this particular day, Secretary Kim drops a bombshell. She resigns. Young-joon freezes for a moment before asking, "Why so suddenly?" Her response is simple: personal reasons. The ever-proud Young-joon acts indifferent, casually replying, "I see." But that night, he tosses and turns in bed, unable to understand why she would leave. The next morning, convinced that she isn't serious, he assumes she'll change her mind. However, Secretary Kim remains firm, even offering to find him a new secretary. Feeling unsettled, Young-joon confides in his best friend, Park Yusik. Yusik suggests that after 9 years, Secretary Kim might simply be experiencing burnout, like a couple in a long-term relationship. Determined to keep her, Young-joon immediately tries to win her back. He offers to double her salary, provide her with a car, and even buy her a house. Yet, despite such generous offers, Secretary Kim refuses. Yusik laughs at him, teasing that Young-joon is finally experiencing rejection. He advises Young-joon to think carefully about Secretary Kim's true reason for leaving. As Young-joon reflects, a memory suddenly stands out: the time he sent Secretary Kim flowers, only for her to burst into tears. A wild thought crosses his mind. Could it be Secretary Kim likes me? What he doesn't realize is that Secretary Kim is allergic to pollen. That day, she sneezed uncontrollably after buying flowers for Young-joon, but he misinterpreted her reaction as a sign of deep emotion. Later, when he handed her a bouquet and said, "Don't cry anymore, it's embarrassing," she hurriedly stuffed the flowers into her car trunk to avoid an allergy attack. Young-joon, however, mistook this as her trying to suppress her overwhelming feelings for him. Now, convinced that she's in love with him, Young-joon asks again why she's leaving. Secretary Kim answers honestly, "I want to find my own life." Young-joon is stunned. After spending so many years together, how could she not see him as part of that life? The next morning at work, he immediately asks what she means by finding her own life. Secretary Kim explains that at 29 years old, she wants to fall in love and get married. That night, Young-joon shows up at her house unannounced and, in his usual blunt manner, declares, "Then let's get married." Secretary Kim, completely taken aback, leans in and sniffs him to check if he's drunk. After 9 years by his side, she knows him too well. Young-joon has always believed himself to be too perfect for anyone. No matter who he dates, he'll always think the woman is beneath him. The next day, a new secretary arrives to take over her position. Watching Secretary Kim prepare to leave makes Young-joon feel an unfamiliar sense of loss. During the handover, Secretary Kim stumbles upon a photo from 9 years ago. Memories come rushing back. She recalls when she was just 20 years old, a fresh-faced employee who had made a mistake that led to Young-joon scolding her harshly. Frustrated and humiliated, she impulsively resigned on the spot. But soon after, regret set in. How would she pay off her family's debts and cover her sister's tuition without a job? Just as she was feeling hopeless, Young-joon unexpectedly sent her a message, telling her to report back to work the next day. At that moment, gratitude filled her heart. From then on, she vowed to improve herself in every way. Even in small tasks like tying his tie, she made sure to be perfect. Over the years, her hard work paid off, shaping her into the skilled professional she had become. As she reflects on the past, she silently thanks Young-joon for always pushing her forward. That afternoon, with no meeting scheduled, Secretary Kim plans to leave work early. However, Young-joon finds an excuse to keep her there longer. But under his watchful gaze, she executes every task flawlessly. For the first time, Young-joon feels powerless. Despite being a CEO worth billions, he realizes he is still a complete beginner when it comes to love. Once again, he turns to Yusik for advice. This time, Yusik tells him to be bold, persistent, and a little romantic. But he warns that proposing out of nowhere was a mistake. No woman would accept it. Instead, he urges Young-joon to win Secretary Kim over with sincerity. Taking this advice, Young-joon decides to approach her differently. That evening, he finds out Secretary Kim is having dinner with colleagues and immediately crashes the gathering. The moment he arrives, the once relaxed atmosphere turns stiff. His presence makes everyone sit up straight and formal. Wanting to ease the tension, Young-joon tries to join the conversation, But before long, the discussion veers into work-related topics, killing the mood completely. His colleagues quickly begin showering him with flattery, which only fuels his ego. Feeling unsatisfied with the evening, Young-joon rents a private VIP room, ensuring a more comfortable atmosphere. As the night goes on, Secretary Kim laughs freely for the first time in a while. Watching her, Young-joon smirks and asks, "Are you this happy because I came to the party?" Caught off guard, Secretary Kim hesitates before replying, "Yes." Seizing the moment, Young-joon hands her a plate of fruit. Mistaking it for something he doesn't like, Secretary Kim prepares to throw it away. But Young-joon stops her, saying, "I'm taking care of you." After the party, Young-joon walked Secretary Kim home and, before parting, he suddenly proposed starting a relationship. However, she rejected him outright. She explained that she preferred gentle and considerate men, which Young-joon was not. The confident CEO, who had always believed in his own perfection, was shocked by the rejection. Frustrated, he protested, "I've done so much for you today. Isn't that considerate?" But Secretary Kim didn't argue. She simply wished him happiness and told him to find the right person before turning away, leaving a bewildered Young-joon standing there. Unwilling to accept this, Young-joon immediately sent her a text message, questioning whether she was out of her mind. He was handsome, rich, and talented. What was not to like? His arrogance made Secretary Kim snap. She confronted him directly, saying that he was selfish and had never considered other people's feelings. After 9 years of holding back, all her bottled-up emotions finally spilled out. Young-joon's face darkened with anger. The next morning, as he was tying his tie, he found himself thinking about Secretary Kim's attentive care over the years. The way she used to smile so sweetly felt almost nostalgic. But now, with her resignation looming, an unfamiliar feeling of unease crept in. When he arrived at the company, he was not himself. For the first time, he refused her help in tying his tie, saying she wouldn't have to do it in the future anyway. He then thanked her for her 9 years of hard work before formally approving her resignation. However, he told her she still had to work for another month to complete the handover. Hearing this, Secretary Kim wasn't happy. Instead, she felt a strange sense of loss. The new secretary had already taken over most of her duties, and she wasn't used to being sidelined. Out of habit, she tried to eavesdrop on how things were going, but Young-joon suddenly pulled the curtains closed. Annoyed, she muttered, "Is this really necessary?" That night, Secretary Kim went out for dinner with her friends. At the restaurant, they received a questionnaire, but instead of food reviews, the questions were oddly personal. If you had someone you liked, where would you want to go? If you had someone you liked, what would you want to do? If you had someone you liked, what gift would you most like to receive? The tone of the questionnaire felt familiar, but she didn't dwell on it and casually filled it out. Unbeknownst to her, this was all Young-joon's doing. That night, Secretary Kim was invited to an amusement park by a colleague. But when she arrived, she found the place closed. Just as she was wondering what was going on, the lights suddenly turned on, and Young-joon made a grand entrance. He invited her inside, and together, they went on thrilling rides. However, Secretary Kim's favorite ride was the carousel. Watching her smile like a child, Young-joon couldn't help but smile too. When she was younger, her family was poor, and even after she started working, she never had the chance to visit an amusement park. But tonight, she finally got to fulfill a small wish. Afterward, they dined at a private restaurant Young-joon had booked in advance. He carefully cut her steak, showing an unexpected tenderness. Their night didn't end there. After dinner, they boarded a luxury cruise ship. As fireworks lit up the sky, Young-joon silently took off his jacket and draped it over Secretary Kim's shoulders. At that moment, she felt deeply moved. They locked eyes, realizing something had changed between them. Embarrassed, they quickly looked away. As the night came to an end, Young-joon handed her a stuffed doll as a gift. Thinking about the romantic kiss question from the survey, he leaned in slowly. But before he could kiss her, Secretary Kim blocked him, telling him to be careful on his way home. Though unsuccessful, Young-joon realized something important. Giving felt more fulfilling than receiving. The next day, Secretary Kim found a necklace hidden inside the doll's pocket, but she hadn't written that she wanted a necklace on the survey. Confused, she decided to return it. However, Young-joon simply said, "I picked it out just for you." At that moment, she noticed his tie was crooked. Out of habit, she reached to fix it. But as she did, her heartbeat suddenly raced. Flustered, she quickly turned away and left. Later, when she finally put on the necklace, she couldn't hide her happiness. From a distance, Young-joon watched her and smiled in satisfaction. Meanwhile, Secretary Kim received a call from her sister urging her to go on a blind date. Unfortunately, their conversation was overheard by a colleague, and soon, word spread quickly. Young-joon found out as well, but he wasn't worried. After all, he had just given her a romantic date. How could a blind date compare? At the cafe, her blind date noticed something on her face and reached out to remove it. At that moment, a colleague happened to walk by and secretly filmed it. Soon, the entire company was buzzing with rumors that Secretary Kim was in a relationship. When Young-joon saw the footage, he was completely dumbfounded. He never expected them to look so intimate. As Secretary Kim was saying goodbye to her blind date, She noticed his tie was crooked. Out of habit, she reached out to fix it. Coincidentally, Young-joon was watching from a distance. When he called her name, she panicked and almost strangled the man with his own tie. She didn't understand why Young-joon reacted so strongly. Thinking he was upset over a work mistake, she asked if he was angry because of her blind date. The arrogant CEO refused to admit his jealousy. Instead, he insisted it had nothing to do with him. That day, the company held a sports event. Watching Secretary Kim compete enthusiastically, Young-joon couldn't help but be drawn to her. But when he saw her teaming up with an attractive colleague, he lost his composure. The more he watched, the angrier he got. He gulped down 9 bottles of water in frustration and, in his rage, declared that future sports events would be cancelled. However, just as he was about to leave, he sprained his foot. Secretary Kim helped him up and took him home. While icing his injury, she noticed a circular scar on his ankle. Though curious, she didn't ask about it. Young-joon then teased her about being too focused on winning. Exhausted, Secretary Kim snapped back, saying she was simply trying her best. Young-joon then grabbed her wrist and challenged, "If that's the case, what would you do now?" The tension between them grew, until the ice pack suddenly slipped from her hand. Both of them quickly snapped out of it. Young-joon then told her to stay the night. Secretary Kim immediately misunderstood, her face turning pale. However, Young-joon explained he was just worried about her getting home safely. Just as she felt relieved, Young-joon suddenly received a phone call. He told her she couldn't stay after all and left in a hurry. As Secretary Kim turned to leave, she accidentally bumped into a man. She had no idea that this man was Young-joon's brother, Sung-yoon. Seeing that her shoelace was untied, he knelt down and offered to tie it for her. After apologizing to each other, they parted ways. Secretary Kim couldn't help but feel that Sung-yoon was much more considerate than Young-joon. When the two brothers met, Young-joon was unwelcoming and asked him to leave after a few words. That day, Young-joon and Secretary Kim visited the company library when a sudden power outage occurred. Secretary Kim quickly called to check on the situation. When Young-joon turned around, he saw Secretary Kim turning on a flashlight, startling him so much that he froze in place. Amused, Secretary Kim remarked on his reaction but quickly realized he had said the wrong thing. The proud CEO retorted that he wasn't cute but had a fatal attraction. Secretary Kim agreed sarcastically and turned away. Feeling awkward in the dark, Secretary Kim picked up a book to read, while Young-joon became entranced by her. It was the first time he truly noticed how beautiful she was. Unsure of when the power would return, they decided to come back another day. Concerned he might trip, Secretary Kim took Young-joon's hand to guide him. But when he suddenly stopped, she thought he was upset and quickly let go. However, Young-joon took the lead and held her hand instead. To promote the library's opening event, Secretary Kim suggested inviting the writer Morris, who had recently returned to the country. Just then, Young-joon received news that his brother, Sung-yoon, had come to the company. To divert Secretary Kim, he asked her to go buy lunch. Sung-yoon came to recommend his new book, but Young-joon impatiently dismissed him. As Sung-yoon left, he ran into Secretary Kim, recognizing her instantly. Sung-yoon, eager to talk, persistently tried to get her contact, forcing her to leave a fake number. He still managed to catch her name from her badge. Later, their parents invited the brothers to dinner, where Sung-yoon brought up Secretary Kim, but Young-joon refused to discuss her. Sung-yoon taunted him, asking if he was afraid of falling for her. Their conversation escalated when Young-joon stated that he didn't hate his brother but looked down on him. Sung-yoon, enraged, argued that if he hadn't made mistakes in the past, he would have been CEO. Young-joon retorted that Sung-yoon was weak, incompetent, and had bullied others to protect himself. Their long-standing misunderstandings boiled over, and Sung-yoon punched Young-joon. Just as Young-joon was about to retaliate, their parents intervened, deeply saddened by their conflict. After Young-joon left, Sung-yoon received an invitation to the library opening. Unbeknownst to Secretary Kim, Morris was actually Sung-yoon's pen name. That night, Young-joon drove to Secretary Kim's house but left without seeing her. Returning home from shopping, she noticed his injury and quickly pulled him inside. However, her house was a mess, and in a panic, she pushed him out to clean up, hastily hiding her underwear under a doll. As Secretary Kim treated Young-joon's wound, their eyes met, creating an intense atmosphere. Embarrassed, they quickly pulled away. She then went to make instant noodles while Young-joon curiously looked around. Spotting the doll, he reached out to turn it over, but Secretary Kim, sensing danger, rushed to stop him, only to lose her balance and fall into his arms. Flustered, she tried to get up, but Young-joon held her tightly, whispering, "Just once is fine." Secretary Kim was almost moved to tears, until he clarified it was something he had read in a book. The next morning, Young-joon unexpectedly arrived to pick her up. Panicked, she ran downstairs, assuming it was urgent, only to stumble and fall into his arms. Instead of scolding her, he reassured her, surprising Secretary Kim. When she went to get the car, he insisted on driving and even opened the door for her, complimenting her beauty. He then added that she shouldn't dress so sexily in the future, leaving her flustered. Just as she found him overbearing, he presented a heart-shaped breakfast, making her feel even more conflicted. At the office, Secretary Kim cut her hand while organizing documents. Young-joon, unusually attentive, helped her, making her uneasy. His friends urged him to confess, warning that hesitation was annoying. Clueless about romance, Young-joon awkwardly asked for date location suggestions, receiving unhelpful responses. Left with no choice, he searched online. Before work ended, Young-joon invited Secretary Kim to dinner. She excitedly went shopping for a new outfit, but before heading out, she received a call from Morris. Arriving at the meeting place, she was shocked to find that Morris was the man she had encountered twice before. He gave her a book he had written. Meanwhile, Young-joon, waiting for her, decided to go find her, only to see her with his brother. Furious, he took the book and returned it. Secretary Kim, unaware of their relationship, was stunned when Young-joon abruptly canceled the collaboration. Yet, he later tried to reinvite Morris, infuriating Secretary Kim. Before Young-joon could confess, they had a fight. His brother mocked him, asking what he was so afraid of. To not disappoint Secretary Kim, Young-joon reluctantly agreed to work with his brother. That night, he wanted to apologize but hesitated. Secretary Kim, now confused about her feelings, questioned him. Young-joon remained silent, further frustrating her. She later learned from a colleague that Morris was Young-joon's brother, realizing she had wrongly accused him. Both wanted to apologize, but Young-joon took the initiative. That evening, they worked late together when Young-joon suddenly admitted that Secretary Kim distracted him. The tension between them grew. Finally, the arrogant CEO confessed his love. However, just as they confirmed their feelings, he abruptly pushed her away. Secretary Kim was shocked, not understanding his reaction. When the chair hit the wall, she realized it was the ultimate humiliation. Hurt, she lashed out, calling him a narcissist who thought she wasn't good enough for him. Young-joon tried to explain, but she refused to listen and took a day off. Young-joon was haunted by childhood memories and a deep trauma he couldn't forget. Secretary Kim, still shaken, confided in her sister, who suggested that his reaction might stem from psychological trauma. Secretary Kim began to wonder what painful experience he had endured. Meanwhile, Young-joon typed out a message to explain but, after much hesitation, deleted it. Young-joon's apology was brief, too brief. The more Secretary Kim thought about it, the more frustrated she became. Trying to stay composed, she calmly asked him what had happened. Young-joon, confused by her reaction, glanced at the doll he had gifted her and suddenly recalled the sweet, yet embarrassing moment they had shared. The next day, determined to show how much she meant to him, Young-joon declared himself her secretary for a day, agreeing to do whatever she asked. Amused, Secretary Kim decided to make the most of it. First, she took him on a bus, an entirely new experience for the overbearing CEO. Clueless about the basics, he fumbled with the handrails until she helped him out. When a seat became available, he offered it to her, but remembering she was the boss today, she took it without hesitation. However, when the bus came to a sudden stop, Young-joon lost his balance and ended up in her lap, drawing laughter from the other passengers. Embarrassed, they quickly moved on to playing arcade games and enjoying street food together. Seeing Young-joon go along with everything just for her, Secretary Kim felt her frustration melt away. Just as things were settling down, Secretary Kim received an unexpected call. News about her past abduction. As a child, she had been kidnapped alongside a young boy. She remembered how he had comforted her with candy and kind words, helping her endure the terrifying experience. For years, she had secretly searched for him. Now, she learned that the eldest son of Young-joon's family had also been abducted in 4th grade, making it likely that he was the boy she had been looking for. But something didn't add up. Young-joon himself had claimed to be in 2nd grade at the time. However, with his advanced intelligence, he had skipped 2 grades and was actually in the same class as his older brother. Adding the scars on his feet to the equation, Secretary Kim realized the truth. The boy who had given her a sense of security all those years ago had been by her side all along. Overcome with emotion, she eagerly offered to help organize Young-joon's bookshelves that night. Young-joon was caught off guard by her sudden enthusiasm, but before he could question it, she looked at him warmly and said, "I'm really happy to see you again." To him, they had only been apart for a night, but she spoke as if it had been much longer. Her words left him flustered, convinced that she was completely smitten with him. Determined to make up for not winning a doll the previous night, Young-joon went back to the arcade and won one for her. When he presented it to Secretary Kim, she was so touched that she teared up. However, just as she was savoring the moment, a colleague mentioned a writer's article about being abducted as a child. Reading it, Secretary Kim was stunned. It matched her own experience exactly. To confirm her suspicions, she directly asked Young-joon about his past, but he brushed it off, only admitting that he had once injured his ankles as a child. Seeking more answers, Secretary Kim approached Young-joon's older brother, who vaguely recalled being abducted but admitted that his memories were fragmented. Hoping to recover their past, he invited Secretary Kim to visit the place where they had been held. However, when Young-joon found out, he immediately intervened, sending Secretary Kim away with an excuse and warning his brother not to see her again. His brother, however, saw things differently. He believed their reunion was fate and that Young-joon was only trying to keep them apart. That evening, Young-joon cautiously asked Secretary Kim if she really planned to accompany his brother on the search for their lost memories. Though he hoped she would say no, she hesitated, leaving him without the answer he wanted. The next day, his brother arrived early, eager to retrace the past with Secretary Kim. Meanwhile, Young-joon, frustrated and jealous, took out his emotions on a punching bag. His friends urged him to take action. If he truly liked Secretary Kim, he needed to make his move. That night, Young-joon interrupted Secretary Kim's outing with an urgent message, bringing her straight to him. The moment he saw her with his brother, his jealousy flared. "It's only been a day, and you're already calling him?" he muttered, trying to divert her attention. He suddenly claimed he was starving and demanded she cook him instant noodles. With no other option, she took him to a ramen shop. As they sat together, Young-joon told her to focus on the present and stop chasing painful memories. But Secretary Kim insisted that the boy who had once protected her meant too much to simply be forgotten. Seeing her sincerity, Young-joon finally agreed to let her search for the past. The next day, their office trip took an unexpected turn when Young-joon announced he would be joining, much to the employees' dismay. His goal was clear. He was here to put an end to their ambiguous relationship and win Secretary Kim's heart. During the games, he ensured they were always paired together. However, when Secretary Kim received a phone call from his brother, Young-joon snatched the phone and bluntly declared that they were busy, frustrating her further. As she stormed off, rain suddenly began to fall. Luckily, Young-joon caught up to her just in time, shielding her with his jacket and leading her to shelter. But their moment of quiet was interrupted when Secretary Kim spotted a spider and shrieked in fear, instinctively ducking into Young-joon's arms. Without hesitation, he caught the spider and tossed it away before offering her a piece of candy to calm her nerves. The gesture triggered a forgotten memory, the same way her little brother had once comforted her in the dark. This time, Young-joon gently urged her to stop searching for those memories, knowing how much pain they had caused his family. However, Secretary Kim, who had always lived for others, desperately needed to reclaim a part of herself. Later that night, as they ate instant noodles together, Secretary Kim grew curious about why Young-joon had pulled away during their last kiss. He hesitated before admitting that when he closed his eyes, a terrible memory resurfaced. She assumed he was teasing her again and walked away, leaving him in silent frustration. When the trip ended, Young-joon invited her to visit his home. Excited, she dressed up, only to find herself agonizing over the perfect outfit. Finally satisfied with her choice, she arrived to find Young-joon waiting with a barbecue he had attempted to cook himself, only to end up burning it. Laughing, they ordered takeout instead. As they ate, he casually wiped sauce from the corner of her mouth, their gazes locking in a lingering moment. The mood was just right, and yet, once again, Young-joon pulled away at the last second. Frustrated, Secretary Kim gave him a knowing smile. "Where will you push yourself this time?" she teased. Feeling guilty, Young-joon could only watch as she walked away, realizing that if he didn't face his past, he might lose her for good. Just then, President Park Yusik suddenly bursts into the room, and Young-joon and Miso spring apart as if struck by lightning. Embarrassed, Miso flees, leaving Young-joon glaring at his friend, whose guilt is so overwhelming that he collapses in exaggerated remorse. On the way home, Miso is deep in thought. Why does Young-joon always tense up at crucial moments? There must be something deeper behind his fears. The next day at work, Miso runs into Yusik, who apologizes for his untimely interruption. But Miso is more concerned about the scar on Young-joon's leg. Even after years of working together, she never noticed it before. When she asks Yusik about it, he admits that despite their long friendship, Young-joon has never spoken about the scar. Miso remains unsettled, and Young-joon misinterprets her silence, assuming she's upset that their kiss was interrupted. Overcome with guilt, he fumbles for words, but in his flustered state, he impulsively snatches Miso's caramel candy and pops it into his mouth. Miso is so stunned that she almost chokes in disbelief. Meanwhile, Young-joon, savoring the candy, solemnly promises to overcome his fears. Later that day, Young-joon's mother learns a shocking truth. Miso was the girl who had been abducted alongside her son all those years ago. She urgently calls Miso to her home, hoping to uncover more details. Miso remembers only fragments: a cold, dark space, and a frightened boy curled up in the corner. Hearing this, Young-joon's mother is heartbroken. She recalls how her younger son, frail and sensitive, was always bullied by his older brother. One day, after a particularly cruel incident, he collapsed, and when he woke up, he had lost all memory of what happened. Midway through her story, Young-joon's older brother, Lee Sung-yeon, arrives. Miso notices something odd. Sung-yeon has no scars. That night, she dreams once more of her childhood, waking with a start to a message from Young-joon. When she pulls back her curtains, she sees him standing below her window, holding a box of caramel candies. He apologizes for stealing hers earlier and, more importantly, confesses that he missed her. But as Miso accepts the gift, a buried memory resurfaces. Years ago, a young boy had once made the same promise, vowing to give her endless caramel candies when they grew up. She had even promised to marry him. Yet Young-joon has always denied being that boy. Why? At Sung-yeon's book launch, He takes the opportunity to confess his feelings for Miso, which Young-joon overhears. Furious, he storms out. Miso rushes after him, assuring him she never gave Sung-yeon any promises. She doesn't want misunderstandings to come between them. Their eyes lock, full of unspoken emotions. Young-joon leans in but stops, his fear holding him back. This time, Miso takes the initiative and kisses him. After being pushed away so many times, they finally embrace. Young-joon is overjoyed, eager to announce their relationship to the world. He even proposes marriage on the spot, but Miso laughs, saying he's moving too fast. Still, after 9 years together, their bond is undeniable. That night, Young-joon parts from her reluctantly, only to return minutes later. Miso stares in confusion as he sheepishly admits, "I was afraid I'd miss you so much that I wouldn't be able to sleep." His cheesy words make her blush, but she doesn't push him away. The next day, love makes even the diligent Young-joon lazy. He falls asleep in his office after work. Miso gently covers him with a blanket, but just as she turns to leave, he pulls her into his arms. Shocked, she struggles to escape before anyone sees them. Later, they celebrate their relationship at the company cafeteria, but the dynamic remains unchanged. Miso still takes care of Young-joon as if she were his secretary, making him question whether they're truly dating. To change this, Young-joon takes matters into his own hands. He personally makes tea for Miso and even copies documents himself. Actions that send the entire office into panic. Miso, overwhelmed, accidentally burns her mouth. Young-joon rushes to check on her, his concern witnessed by their curious colleagues. Thinking fast, he fabricates an excuse, claiming they are doing an eye contact exercise to boost workplace morale. He then proceeds to stare deeply into each employee's eyes. Though the excuse works, Miso is annoyed. Instead of making her feel comfortable, it only makes things awkward. She advises Young-joon to keep his personal and professional lives separate, not treating her differently just because they're in a relationship. Young-joon, however, is hurt by the sudden emotional distance between them. That evening, they wait for the other to speak first. Young-joon wonders why Miso isn't initiating reconciliation, while Miso wonders why he isn't asking her out to dinner. The silent standoff ends with both walking away, frustrated and confused. Feeling dejected, Young-joon turns to his friends for advice. They warn him, if he doesn't address this issue, it could lead to a serious rift. Taking their words to heart, he shows up at Miso's house with a gift. Miso admits she is only acting professionally at work to avoid favoritism, apologizing for making him feel distant. Their misunderstanding is resolved, and Young-joon suggests they drop formalities and call each other by their first names. But after 9 years of calling him vice chairman, Miso finds it too awkward. Their intimate moment is cut short when Miso's sisters unexpectedly arrive. In a panic, she shoves Young-joon into her closet. When her sisters notice the elaborate dinner setup, they immediately suspect Young-joon had been there. Their disapproval of him is clear, and they make some harsh remarks that Young-joon finds hard to ignore. As soon as they leave, Miso opens the closet, only to find Young-joon sulking with a betrayed expression. Though he feels wronged, Miso's sincere apology makes it impossible for him to stay upset. The next day, Miso receives a message from Sung-yeon, asking to meet. Determined to clear things up, she tells him directly that she only feels gratitude toward him, not love. Sung-yeon, however, tries to manipulate her, bringing up how Young-joon had abandoned him the day he was kidnapped. But before he can say more, Young-joon himself arrives. Sung-yeon accuses him of living a carefree life while he continues to suffer. But Young-joon, unfazed, warns his brother not to trouble Miso again and leaves with her. On the way home, Miso feels chilly, and Young-joon drapes his jacket over her shoulders. Something about the jacket strikes her as familiar. Young-joon mentions that his mother's friend used to design clothes for him, and Miso suddenly recalls something. Sung-yeon was supposedly kidnapped while wearing clothes made by Young-joon's mother's best friend. A thought flashes in her mind. Could Young-joon actually be the one who was kidnapped? Not Sung-yeon? She hesitantly calls out the name Sung-yeon, and Young-joon instinctively responds. Shock washes over her. Realizing his mistake, Young-joon tries to dismiss the topic, but Miso presses further. Was he the boy from the past? Was his childhood name actually Lee Young-joon? Desperate for answers, Miso decides to go straight to the source, Young-joon's mother. She asks the one question that could change everything. Did Young-joon ever have a different name? Upon hearing this, the lady's expression shifted instantly. Secretary Kim quickly realized that the little Sung-yoon the lady mentioned was actually Young-joon. However, the mother insisted that the child who had been locked up with Secretary Kim was her older son, Sung-yeon. When pressed again, she avoided the topic, claiming exhaustion and asking Secretary Kim to leave. Left with no choice, Secretary Kim departed and happened to run into Sung-yeon outside. She asked if he remembered what had happened back then, but he admitted that recalling those memories only filled him with self-loathing. As they talked, Secretary Kim caught sight of an old photo of the two brothers. In a flash, she recalled Young-joon's childhood face. She asked Sung-yeon which one was him in the picture. He pointed to the one on the left, confirming her suspicions. Young-joon was the younger brother from back then. But why had they both claimed it was Sung-yoon at the office? Meanwhile, Young-joon, overwhelmed by his packed schedule, complained that he hadn't seen Secretary Kim all day and hoped she would come over in the evening. Her mind raced, prompting Young-joon to tease her about her expectations. It was just paperwork after all. She agreed, calling him brother, which nearly made Young-joon lose his composure. Delighted, he asked her to keep calling him that. Secretary Kim arrived early at Young-joon's house, where he had just finished showering and emerged in a bathrobe. Flustered, she quickly turned away as he went inside to change. At that moment, she noticed bruises on his ankles, and her heart ached. Her eyes reddened, but before she could react, her sister called. Learning she was at Young-joon's house, her sister strongly opposed the relationship, calling Young-joon an arrogant CEO. However, Secretary Kim defended him, insisting he wasn't selfish. Young-joon overheard this and mistakenly thought she was crying because of her sister's disapproval. Determined, he decided to win over her family. After finishing their work, Young-joon drove Secretary Kim home. As she rummaged through her bag, she turned to find him watching her intently. Embarrassed, her face turned red, which Young-joon immediately noticed. Trying to hide her emotions, she quickly covered her face and ran inside. Later, Young-joon left a moon-shaped lamp in her room, saying it would light up her nights. Upon learning that Secretary Kim had a weekend date with her sisters, Young-joon decided to join them. Her sisters believed he was selfish and from a different world, opposing their relationship. To prove them wrong, he accompanied them to a cheap cafeteria. Perplexed by the concept of saving money through overeating, he awkwardly devoured large amounts of food. Seeing this, the eldest sister was shocked, thinking he was trying to get his money's worth. He was about to get more food when the cafeteria owner stopped him, urging him not to overdo it. Only after Secretary Kim reassured him that he had earned his value did he finally relax. However, he couldn't stop burping afterward. Later, the sisters planned to go clam digging, and Young-joon volunteered to join. The eldest sister doubted his ability to handle hardship, but Young-joon declared that as long as he was with Secretary Kim, he could endure anything. This left Secretary Kim speechless, while her younger sister looked unconvinced. The eldest sister, fed up, dismissed his words as empty talk. At the beach, Young-joon was nowhere to be seen at first, prompting the sisters to mock his absence. However, he made a grand entrance with top-tier equipment. The eldest sister scoffed, saying tools meant nothing without skill. To settle the debate, Secretary Kim proposed a competition, her team with Young-joon versus her sisters. The losing team would grant a wish to the winners. Despite his inexperience, Young-joon was determined. Seeing that Secretary Kim struggled to dig properly, he took over, quickly filling a bucket with clams. Their teamwork led them to victory. When asked what his wish was, Secretary Kim replied that she wanted her sisters to stop disliking him. Young-joon secretly rejoiced at her response. As they were leaving, the eldest sister nearly slipped. Young-joon swiftly caught her, and she realized his hands were ice cold. Secretary Kim grew anxious, thinking he might have caught a cold from overeating. They rushed him to a doctor, where the locals were astonished that the arrogant CEO had ended up in their small clinic. The younger sister, finally moved by his efforts, defended Young-joon. Witnessing his sincerity, both sisters began to accept him. Meanwhile, Sung-yeon's mother wrestled with guilt over Secretary Kim's suspicions. She debated with her husband whether they should finally reveal the truth. Eventually, Sung-yeon learned the shocking reality. It was not he who had been abducted 24 years ago, but Young-joon. This revelation left him confused and guilt-ridden. Sung-yeon confronted Secretary Kim, hoping to understand what had truly happened. Just then, a performance on stage triggered her memory. The sight of a pair of red high heels dangling in the air sent her into a panic, and she fainted. In a flood of memories, she recalled her childhood trauma. After her mother's passing, she had wandered outside at night and was lured away by a woman who claimed she would reunite her with her mother. Instead, she was locked in a dark room with a tied-up boy, Young-joon. Terrified, she cried, fearing she had angered the woman. The boy, however, comforted her and even gave her candy. The woman, heartbroken after being abandoned, sought to take the children with her as an act of revenge. Just as she was about to, Young-joon pleaded with her to let them go and start anew. His words awakened a sliver of conscience in her, but she ultimately ended her life in front of them. To protect Secretary Kim from trauma, Young-joon lied, calling it a big spider. Despite his fear, he retrieved scissors from the woman's feet and freed her. He told her to shut her eyes and run. Returning home, Secretary Kim had promised to marry Young-joon when they grew up. However, the ordeal left Young-joon deeply scarred. He suffered from recurring nightmares, and Sung-yeon, envious of his intelligent and beloved younger brother, grew distant. One day, Sung-yeon led Young-joon to a remote area where they encountered the same woman again. The fear drove Sung-yeon into a mental breakdown, distorting his memories. He convinced himself that he was the abducted child. As a result, Sung-yeon took over Young-joon's room, resenting him as the cause of his trauma. Their frequent fights led their father to consider admitting Sung-yeon to a mental institution, but their mother resisted. Young-joon, overhearing this, chose to feign amnesia and let his brother take over his story to protect their family. After changing his name, Young-joon searched for Secretary Kim, but discovered she had moved away with no trace. For years, he lived cautiously, avoiding unfamiliar women, haunted by his past. It wasn't until a company party that he saw Secretary Kim again. Recognizing her instantly, he ensured she became his secretary. Though she wasn't particularly skilled at first, under Young-joon's guidance, she grew into an exceptional employee. 9 years passed, changing them both. Eventually, Young-joon's parents learned that their son had silently endured everything, carrying the burden alone for years. Young-joon's brother apologized, expressing deep regret for the past. Though Young-joon never resented him, the pain had lingered. The two brothers finally reconciled, putting years of conflict behind them. After Secretary Kim was discharged from the hospital, Young-joon took her to an amusement park, once the very place of their trauma. He had transformed it, burying painful memories beneath laughter and joy. They finally spoke about the past without fear, embracing a future of happiness. Young-joon encouraged Secretary Kim to focus on the positive, using their strengths to support each other. He even suggested she stay at his place, but her father forbade it. That night, unable to sleep, she was surprised when Young-joon arrived at her door with his luggage. Without hesitation, he moved in, arranging his things meticulously as if he already considered it home. Flustered, Secretary Kim watched as he casually settled in. An awkward moment arose when their hands touched while picking something up. Sensing the tension, Secretary Kim quickly withdrew, but Young-joon reassured her. He then shamelessly squeezed into bed with her, claiming he had brought a special pillow for her comfort. Overwhelmed, Secretary Kim panicked, raising the remote-controlled bed to distract herself. But when she turned on the TV, it was filled with romantic couples, making the moment even more embarrassing. Young-joon, ever prepared, suggested red wine to relax. However, realizing they had no corkscrew, Secretary Kim used an unconventional trick, slamming the bottle against the wall using a shoe. Young-joon, stunned, reminded her that the bottle was worth 20 million. Horrified, she quickly put it back. Meanwhile, a neighbor downstairs scolded Young-joon for his flashy car, calling him out for being too arrogant in such a modest neighborhood. Secretary Kim felt guilty, leading her to move into Young-joon's home instead. Later that night, Young-joon joined her in bed again, claiming he was worried she'd be scared. To ease the tension, he began singing a lullaby, and as the melody played, memories of their time together surfaced. He glanced over to find Secretary Kim already asleep, and in that quiet moment, he leaned in to kiss her forehead. She instinctively snuggled into his embrace. The next morning, Young-joon sat beside her, looking dazed. When asked why he was up so early, he admitted he hadn't slept at all, wanting to let her rest undisturbed. Before leaving, he cryptically mentioned he couldn't guarantee anything tonight, leaving Secretary Kim flustered. That night, as they prepared to be more open with each other, Young-joon untied her bow, only for a sudden phone call to interrupt. The company faced an emergency, forcing him to leave for France to renegotiate a contract. Disappointed, Secretary Kim drowned her embarrassment in a drink. Returning later, Young-joon found her fast asleep. Though he longed to be with her, he simply carried her to bed and placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. The next day, Secretary Kim, unaware of what had happened, worried about explaining herself. But Young-joon, already at her side, told her about his business trip. She hurriedly packed for him, feeling torn about their time apart. Though they stayed connected through video calls, the week felt unbearably long for both. Young-joon returned earlier than expected, rushing to see Secretary Kim. Dismissing everyone at the office, he greeted her with a passionate kiss. Later, he invited her over, but before anything could happen, Secretary Kim received news that her father was hospitalized. Rushing to him, she found he had only suffered a minor injury from his rock and roll performance. Young-joon's planned romantic evening was foiled again. He wanted to visit, but knowing her father's temperament, Secretary Kim advised against it. That night, Young-joon lay restless, messaging her with no reply. The next morning, he arrived early at the hospital, only to learn she had gone home. When Secretary Kim finally returned to work, Young-joon invited her over again. Exhausted, she joked that she had been working non-stop, like a bulldozer. Young-joon, embarrassed, decided to slow things down on his friend's advice. However, Secretary Kim was unexpectedly disappointed. That night, she surprised him, declaring she wasn't going home. After all the anticipation, Young-joon finally got what he wanted. The next day, their relationship was exposed, sparking office gossip. Many doubted Secretary Kim's success, assuming she had used underhanded means to rise through the ranks. She refused to be discouraged. Meanwhile, the company faced a crisis when a newly developed product design was stolen. While others struggled for solutions, Secretary Kim proposed the perfect plan, impressing Young-joon. With only 7 days left until her resignation, Young-joon grew increasingly reluctant to let her go. He realized how much he relied on her, not just at work but in his life. Thanks to her efforts, the rumors about her abilities were debunked. That night, as he walked her home, Secretary Kim made her decision. She would stay by his side, not out of obligation, but because it was what she truly wanted. Touched, Young-joon teared up. Their relationship deepened. But when Secretary Kim's father found out, he was initially disapproving. He accused Young-joon of being a heartless boss who exploited his employees. Just as Young-joon panicked, a phone call gave him an excuse to leave. Yet, the moment he was gone, her father admitted he actually liked him. The tough act was only to boost his daughter's confidence. Later, Young-joon's friend opened a restaurant, and he took Secretary Kim to celebrate. However, an old childhood friend greeted him warmly, hugging him with familiarity. This woman knew him well, even recognizing his signature moves. Seeing this, Secretary Kim's expression twisted with jealousy. To make matters worse, the woman confidently asked Young-joon to open a bottle cap for her. Secretary Kim's jealousy flared up when she saw Young-joon with another woman. As she left, she reached for a bottle of water but hesitated, pretending to be indifferent. Although she denied being jealous, her demeanor said otherwise, which delighted Young-joon. That night, he visited her house, professed his love once again, and proposed. Just as things were about to take a romantic turn, her father interrupted with a sudden cough. Caught off guard, they quickly composed themselves as her father pulled Young-joon aside for a talk. Her father found the proposal lacking in sincerity and refused to marry her off so easily. Young-joon, determined to win his approval, promised to give Secretary Kim a romantic and unforgettable proposal. Pleased, her father happily drank with him, and as the night went on, they started calling each other brother. Growing more fond of Young-joon, the father-in-law even shared embarrassing childhood stories about Secretary Kim, leaving Young-joon ecstatic. The next morning, Young-joon woke up with his perfect image shattered, frustrated by his own drunken antics. He tried to justify it, saying making mistakes occasionally was good for relieving Secretary Kim's psychological pressure. Wanting a romantic proposal, Young-joon researched various methods and decided to take Secretary Kim abroad. However, due to work commitments, she declined. Desperate, he turned to friends for advice, but their plans failed miserably. President Park suggested a sincere and unadorned proposal might work best. Meanwhile, Young-joon's mother, upon learning about their relationship, worried it would strain his bond with his brother. However, his brother not only gave his blessings but also shared proposal advice, sparking an idea in Young-joon's mind. That night, he invited Secretary Kim to his home, where he had prepared a candlelit path, her favorite caramel treats, and heartfelt confessions that moved her to tears. In the living room, he performed a small talent show before kneeling on one knee and finally saying the 3 words he had saved for so long. Overcome with emotion, Secretary Kim immediately accepted. Young-joon handed her the wedding contract and sealed the moment with a deep kiss. Soon after, Young-joon's mother invited Secretary Kim to dinner. Having seen her dedication over the past 9 years, she truly adored her future daughter-in-law. She took Secretary Kim shopping, showering her with luxury gifts. Every time Secretary Kim admired an item, her mother-in-law bought it without hesitation. Overwhelmed, Secretary Kim felt pressured by such generosity and politely declined the valuables. Her mother-in-law, understanding her feelings, reassured her that it was simply because she loved her so much and wanted to give her the best. Rather than being offended, she admired Secretary Kim even more. As the wedding day approached, Young-joon carefully selected a wedding dress for Secretary Kim, but she was so busy with work that she forgot to try it on. By the time she arrived at the boutique, it had already closed. Though Young-joon said nothing, she sensed his disappointment. To make amends, she took him to a coffee shop, but as they entered, he suddenly realized this was the place where she had once gone on a blind date. Flustered, Secretary Kim hastily explained, but Young-joon reminded her that marriage wasn't a one-person effort. Feeling remorseful, Secretary Kim later surprised him by appearing in her wedding dress. Seeing his beautiful bride, Young-joon's irritation vanished instantly. They promised to cherish each other forever. Later, Young-joon's brother informed him that Secretary Kim was allergic to pollen. Regretting his oversight, Young-joon replaced all the wedding flowers with artificial ones and vowed to learn everything about her in the future. On their wedding day, Young-joon's legs trembled with nerves. Surrounded by the blessings of family and friends, their happiness was just beginning. From that moment on, they would always have each other, proving that true love leads to family. With love, laughter, and unwavering devotion, Young-joon and Secretary Kim finally get their happily ever after.